I was up in Portland, Oregon, with at a big conference that I got Zecharia to speak at. I got him a speaking part on a big conference in Portland, Oregon, back in 1995, 96, something like that, in which I was hosting a major conference. And people from all over the world were there, and so I got him to speak. And so after the conference was over on Sunday night, there was a big dinner. What do you call it? A banquet,
Hmm.
big banquet. And well, Zachariah and I was sitting at the head table because I hosted the whole conference. And so after dinner, everybody's up and mingling around and talking. And so it was just Zach and I sitting there at the table. And so we had a little conversation in which he blew my mind. I asked him. I said, Zach, I've given you money, sent you around the world, financed your books. I got a couple of questions I really want honest answers for. You owe me. And so I said, and he said, okay, so what? So I said, every time I turn around, you got a new book coming out. My God, you pump out books
Yeah.
left and right. I didn't know the Sumerians wrote that much. And you can just keep on telling all this stuff the Sumerians did and this and that, what they wrote. My God, you've got, what is it, 15 books out there now, and you still. And he said to me, my books are automated writing. Oh, really? Automated writing? I said to him, automated writing? I know what that means, I think. Are you saying that somebody else in the spirit world is guiding your hands? He said, that's precisely right. Yes, I'm being guided to do this. And I said, wow, explain that to me. And I said, do you know who's using you? Yes, I'm very, very well aware of who's using me. And he said, but they could use somebody off the street. If they're going to use somebody to give their message to the world, they've got to have somebody who has studied the customs, the words, the terms. I grew up in this subject. That's why I'm doing what I do, because I know the subject, I know the culture, I know the language. I've studied the symbols. But having said that, yes, it's I'm being basically automated writing. And so I said, do you know who's leading you? Yes, I do. And I said, who? And he said, well, basically the Anunnaki that I talk about. And I said, do you have a relationship with the Anunnaki? Yes. And I said, have you ever seen them? He said, yes. Face to face, I have talked with them. On occasions, they will talk with me face to face. And I said, are you telling me that you have actually talked with Anunnaki and that they are leading you in your work that you are distributing around the world and that you actually talk with these creatures? And he said, yes. So I said to him, wow. Well, if that's the case, obviously they've told you a lot of things you haven't written. And he said, you can bet on that. They've told me a lot of stuff I'm not allowed to talk about. But on occasions when I'm talking to them face to face, they tell me things, and then I wait, and then they will lead me to write whatever I'm supposed to write. But I know the subjects. I know, so they're not picking some kid off the street. So I said, Zachariah, I've spent a lot of money on you and time. Tell me something that they've told you that you've never told anyone. And he thought that was funny. And he said, well, I'll tell you what they told me about you. And I said, about me? He said, yeah, I've talked to them about you because I have such a close association with you. And you are, and impacting my career and putting me out there to speak in conferences and get me on radio, and you're doing all this for me. So naturally, in talking with them on the few occasions when I was able to, your name came up, and so they had an opinion about you. And I said, what did they tell you about me? And he said, well, I'm not going to get into it, but all I will tell you is that they like you and they trust you. And they said, if there's anybody that I can do business with and work with and confide in, is you. So they are happy with you. They say that they know you. They know that you are honest, who you are. You're not out there to make a quick buck, and that they trust you, and I can work with you. That's basically what I'll tell you. I just thought that was interesting, and I would never say anything like that in public. That Zecharia Sitchin was being led by Anunnaki, that he actually face-to-face talks with, and it was an automated writing, all of his books.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even consider saying such a thing out there. Because it does not, in my book, it does not take a thing away from him. He becomes even more important in my eyes, because obviously if there are Anunnaki, if there is a higher society of life form from another world that's here, and if they are using him, if all of those things are true, then that means he's a very important man.
Right.
I don't care how you cut it.
And it would cut off some of his critics, because some of his critics were saying that some of his interpretations were, right? Yeah. You've heard all that stuff, right?
I've heard it all. I've heard everybody, even at the time I was supporting him, I heard it all.
Right.
And, so, I mean, I've got all kinds of stories that can never be told in public. I've got somebody who wants to videotape me on all of my stories that I've never told and would never tell anyone. But I really do feel I'd like to record it so that when I do pass, then it can be put out. You know, not going to bother me. I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've got so many stories of things that people would never believe. But I was there, and it happened.
I believe you. And it's very interesting, because he was extremely prolific.
Oh, very.
In his writing.
And it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. It just keeps coming out, and everything was beautifully done, beautifully said. And, you know, well, where are you getting all of that? Well, I'm getting it from them. They're telling me. And I said, are they coming back? Yeah, of course. And I said, could you tell me when they're coming back? He said, no, I cannot do that. I'm not allowed to tell you that. And he said, but it's going to be a while, and you probably won't see it in your lifetime. When they make their appearance, you probably are not going to see it.
They, yeah, plural. Yeah.
Yeah, they, whoever they are.
Right.
Well, they're Anunnaki. Well, what does that mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
And so I've met so many important people in this world that nobody would ever suspect that I know. I've got stories that knock you out. Absolutely would blow your mind, that who I've sat and talked with and been in the company of and became close friends with, and people telling me things, and they're gone now, but I still would never, ever say anything of what they told me. But I would like to record it all so that maybe one day when I'm not here, the world can hear what I did know that I never told you.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think it's a great idea. Record
I do too. I do too. Record it, and then one day, now I'll tell you what was really going on that nobody knew.
Right.
And I'm not so goddamn brilliant and wonderful that I knew. No, I knew people who did know, and they told me. I'm just telling you what other people said, but they were in a position to know.